we are live, and it is December 11th, 2019. We'll call to order the Conservation Commission meeting at 7:11. We have 4 of our 6 members present tonight. To my left, we have Mike and Lori, and to my right, we have Bill, and I'm Andy Fulton, the chairman. Michael, thanks for the minutes last month. That was very helpful. Gave me half a chance to put them out there. If we want to go final with them, yep.
Do we want to do that?
Or
do you want to?
No, I think that's a fine thing to do. For our viewing audience, none of you, we have no guests today. And we just have a few items. And Michael, would you be willing to do some notes for tonight?
Yep, I don't have a notepad though.
You
So I
do.
need some paper.
Bill does.
And you probably need an implement.
No, he's got one
You
of
got one
those.
there? Okay. All right, so
should we
let's,
approve the
Grab a
minutes
new
first
sheet.
and get those out of the way?
Right, you just go one beyond there.
I'd be glad to entertain a motion on the minutes
What's the
of
date on the minutes?
October, was it 13th, I think, 2019?
Is that correct?
I have no paperwork in front of me to look.
Motion to
You can
approve
keep that till after meeting.
The
Sure, I'll
October
probably need
minutes.
another one, huh?
October minutes?
I'll second that.
Are they October or November?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Those would be the November minutes.
Motion to approve November minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Any room for discussion?
I did not review them. I wrote them, but haven't reviewed it. So.
They look fine to me.
Good night. Yeah, so in discussion, Michael wrote them, I edited, took out a few question marks, filled in, and changed some spelling on a name, and didn't do much to them, but packaged them and sent them along finally. So, any other concerns? Seeing as we have none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor. Then we had an invite from the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator, to attend a Board of Selectmen meeting, primary topic being discussing the status of our forester contract. And we declined that meeting on this past Monday due to short notice and unavailability. And the town administrator has asked us to attend the December 16th Board of Selectmen meeting to primarily, again, touch base on the forester contract and its status.
Is
And-
this just to sign the forester contract, or is this, they've got questions about what's going on and we're supposed to be signing this contract now and we're going to be in a bind? How does
I
this work?
don't believe
know.
that there's a request to sign it, because where we got to was, I believe, preparing an RFP and asking for comments from the selectmen. And I do not believe we received any comments
So,
or response to our presentation, our passing that along. Now, I do believe we did that, but could it be I never ended up doing that? Well, we might just find out.
okay.
But,
Does
no,
this put
I,
us in a bind currently for where we're going forward?
no, the last word was continue as is until we, come back to it, and unless until we have further comments and work with the existing arrangements.
Okay.
So, as best I can recall, and admittedly, Steve is the one who's usually sharper on the details of these things with the forester. We're trying to follow the town's service purchasing policy.
Mhm.
We had put together a document to circulate to solicit bids, and we haven't done anything with it.
It hasn't gone out?
Correct.
Oh.
So,
We probably should send the RFP out.
the idea is to get
Feedback from the Board of Selectmen.
the Board of
before we
Selectmen
send
saying,
it out.
okay, sure, it looks consistent, let's move ahead.
Okay.
Or move ahead if you would, please.
So, for
So-
this meeting, maybe it would be good if everybody got shot a copy from somewhere of what this thing looks like, so we can all intelligently know the document when it's brought up for discussion,
We should all have it,
somewhere.
and we can certainly refresh,
I would say that would be a great idea.
yeah. Yeah.
Do the selectmen have it?
My understanding is they've had it since the summer.
They have.
Do you think you want to just shoot a note to Naomi to make sure they've got a refreshed copy of it too?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I just think it's all good that we make sure everybody's got a copy before we show up there and maybe somebody doesn't.
Yeah. And then on the business of showing up there, my understanding is we are slotted on the agenda, or will be. If none of us can make it, then we'd want to let the town administrator know that we can't make it on that date. I believe I should be able to make it. I haven't heard that anyone is absolutely not able to. In general, though, we want to have some more advance notice, like, oh, by the way, next month, we would like to
Yes.
address this, address our comments to you in person. You
Because
know-
we only meet once a month and it's harder for us than them where they meet every week.
Right.
Going on that premise, we are going to try and have everybody there.
Which would be great.
That would be very helpful.
If we were to so do, we need assistance in posting a special meeting of this commission.
We do.
Right.
Now, that can be done one of two ways. You can post it at the town offices, at the post office, and they can also put it on the town website.
And in the past, we've had good administrative support when that's needed.
So we would need
So
to
I'll-
check with Naomi to see if that's covered or what we need to do.
Yep. So, I believe I can make it. Bill, do you think you can make it?
I
Michael?
believe I can.
And Lori?
Yeah. What time are we
And-
planning on having this party?
I would first let town administrator know that we can make it, and then ask what time slot we would be.
I mean, if we're going to
Slated
be
for.
towards the end of the meeting, then we could stay home and have dinner
Well, no, exactly.
first.
That we have done before, so,
If we're going first, we'll have dinner later.
yeah. Right. And I don't know, I have no pretense of knowing
Okay.
what's on the,
But we can check and
Agenda
see where they're going to
for
docket
the,
us.
for the Board of Selectmen. yeah.
Okay.
Presumably Sherry will be there, so we don't, and as I did not, I received a response from Steve indicating that he was aware that we were invited, with no indication that he wouldn't be able to make it, so I think we should all be there.
If for some reason he can't, we're going to need documentation from him for what he wants presented, because this is his wheelhouse. Or else we should really postpone the meeting if
I
he
agree.
can't be there,
I agree,
because this is Steve's mecca.
yeah.
Unless you or Bill wants to.
No, I agree, Steve's a key piece of the puzzle on this one. So, I will confirm that.
Next.
Oh, can you believe it just dawned on me, or I was just told, or if I was told before, I forgot that Mary Rice has been retired for 6 months, and I was still sending things to Mary.
No.
There is a new lady.
Yes.
Is that who
Yes,
the
and I-
blonde lady
I-
was?
I haven't met her yet, but just started this week, though?
Just started this.
Okay, all right, well, at least I wasn't, 4
Do we
months
know who
behind on
she
that,
is?
so.
Yeah, do.
Okay,
Is
name escapes you at the moment, that's fine.
it Karen?
If you think of it,
I've known her husband for years, but his name's drawing a blank too.
okay, that's fine.
Let's see, no, that'd be good to find that name. I think I could do it.
Curious, didn't we have a secretary once?
Yes.
I have a Karen Nelson.
See, I was right with Karen. Yes, Karen Nelson. Good for me. yeah.
Did we lose our secretary and you became the permanent secretary, or did I miss
There's no
something with that
permanence, but
secretary?
yes, our hired secretary not retired, resigned.
Okay,
So I don't know for a fact. My guess is she found, having finished her schooling, found some full-time employment, and this gig was not a good fit any longer, so. I
so
know of nothing different, and that's, again, just my best guess based on
are
some.
you comfortable taking minutes, or do we need to go back to the well and say we still need a secretary?
I would prefer that. I don't mind doing the
So,
notes.
Andy, we need to notify the town administrator that we would,
Perhaps it's something else we can talk about on Monday,
yes.
yeah.
Just thought as long as we're
Yep.
here having this wonderful discussion
Well, presumably,
like that.
planning board, zoning board would have assistance, and so we can ask if that assistance can be extended, if we can manage that again.
Yeah. That okay with you, Bill?
It's fine. I believe that lady is still doing planning and zoning.
Oh, really? Oh, that would be more than I knew.
And I
Okay.
I believe that because I had to let him in the building the other night and she was there, so.
Okay.
Interesting. So,
We can definitely now ask a question.
right, and we definitely have a name of our secretarial support for the administrator's office. That is now Karen, and hopefully Mary is having a good retirement and into the holiday season enjoying
Good
it.
for her. She's
so.
done a lot of stuff for the town.
Yep. All right. We have one planning board item tonight. This is for Alpha Storage. We have an application for formal site plan review. We have a worksheet sent along from Kelly for our concerns and comments. We have a note here saying that this hearing is scheduled for January 23rd, so we have an opportunity to get our comments in.
Where is this?
And we have no obligation on site plan reviews, only opportunity to say, all right, we know that site and we have concerns because it's located next to a critical wetland habitat or some feature or awareness that would come to bear on it. But we don't have to. It does not, we don't impede a project if we have no comments. But with that said, we ought to take a look and see if anything is of concern. Things in the past that we've noted are aquifer zones and items like that. Alpha Storage is on map 201, lot 14-1, 407 North Stark Highway. So it's right up here on 114. It's where, about 15 years ago, there was an attempt at a golf course, right? And then that piece of the puzzle didn't work out, and I believe there were already self-storage units there at that time, and it looks like they're planning to put some more in.
So where is it? Because wasn't here when you were doing golf things.
So if you're heading up towards John Stark,
Mhm.
past Reservoir Drive, it's about
There's a car garage on the
a
left.
third of the way up there on the left.
Oh,
Out behind that, 100 yards or so, you can't see it.
okay.
There's a roadway
Just-
and a gate, and you
just-
can't really see it at all.
Just beyond John Connor Road.
Okay. Is there a limit to how much you can have of stuff in town, like 600 self-storages or 20 convenience
Not
stores?
that I'm aware of.
We seem to be growing self-storage units.
All right. I'm not aware of any. They're,
Can you see?
I think they're doing it now, aren't they?
what's that?
Yeah, aren't they doing some storage out there now?
Yes, there's existing.
It's existing.
Right. Oh, absolutely. It's been there for a long time.
Yeah,
When I say long time, more than a decade, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't see it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Set well back off of 114. All right, so we have a wetland stamp on it, so that's cool. We have a plan by Keach Nordstrom out of Bedford. We have general notes, the purpose of the plan. And it is easy to flip pages when they're this small, but man, it's hard to read. Is to depict the existing conditions and no other purpose,
You okay to see?
Yep.
which has never made any sense to me. Why do we have to just circulate plans if there's no other purpose? Anyhow, maybe this plan itself is existing conditions and we'll see other plans that change existing conditions. That's probably the case.
What is all this?
Those are trees.
Oh,
Or bushes. No, I guess pines. Driveway comes in here. There is single-story storage building, storage building, storage building, and storage building. At one point, I thought there was a clubhouse. Maybe that was turned into a storage building.
that's what's existing, or that's what
Right,
they're proposing?
that's existing.
And what are they trying to do?
Well, I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
We have wetlands shown with a 25-foot buffer depicted. Wetlands being on the western side of the lot, I suppose. So, just for background on this, this area was, at one point, a sand and gravel quarry, mine, pit, what have you. And after that material, or what was available reserve was removed, the storage went in there, and then a larger area of the property was reworked for a golf course, and that's how it sits. There were, fairways and greens that were all, I think, 9 of them established. So I don't think that's been maintained. Much of the property is, without maintenance, would be reverting to woods.
We're not a golfing community? I don't know,
I'm
so
not
if
a
there was
golfer,
golfing
I'm not
here,
a
so
golfer,
I
so
just thought I'd ask.
it was somebody's dream and it didn't work out
Okay.
in that regard.
So we never used it as a golf course?
No,
it was used
for a year or two.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
I had one friend who was an avid golfer, and I just asked him about it, a coworker one day, and he's like, well, it's a little rough. Seemed like somebody kind of waltzed through the woods with an excavator and tried to make a golf course.
Okay, so Tiger Woods is not going to golf on this
And
course?
yes,
Got
it
it.
was, it was a dream that just didn't pan out. All right, so now we have the second page, second plat, which is purpose of this plan is to depict the proposed location of storage facilities
Ooh, big ones.
for approval of a 27,100 square foot expansion, including a 600 square foot office, and a 2,270 square foot outdoor storage area. So a little tiny office up here, next to a storage building, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 more storage
Is
buildings.
this original or is this
Yeah.
bigger? Okay.
Original, four original, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new ones planned.
I didn't realize we needed to move so much junk in town. I thought we all had barns.
Somebody does.
So on this plan, we have it stamped by wetland scientists. We have wetlands shown on the west side of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a 25-foot non-disturb buffer shown. We have a 50-foot building setback shown. We have
Got a
drainage
good tree line
features
coming in.
with, runoff to the wetlands. Snow storage indicated on the north and south sides of the facility.
Now, with the snow storage, I'm just curious, I don't know what the rules are here. If this runs off down into the wetlands, if they're using salt or something, do we have to worry about that hurting the wetlands at all or not?
We don't have to, but we can.
I mean, that, once again, you're interfering and you're putting things at risk, so I'm just asking if that's something we should be raising a question to,
I
because,
think the general approach, and Michael might know this better than I do, is to keep your snow storage areas out of the wetlands, and then your runoff is directed to a catch basin before it discharges to the wetlands.
okay, we've
With
got,
the,
but is that the same thing that's happening over here?
I remember what this was. This was a gravel pit, so the
Oh,
theory is that that will melt in place and percolate to the groundwater, which would probably flow towards the wetland.
okay. I did not know what the laws were regarding that.
I believe that to be one of the primary planning board concerns with parking lots, and this is essentially a parking lot with buildings in it.
Is it gonna be paved? Does it say?
Doesn't have to, but they usually are. Owners in Brimfield, Massachusetts. It shall conform with this, that, and the other thing. Walls will be designed by engineers.
Does it normally say somewhere in here that they're gonna pave, Bill?
It would usually say it if it was.
Parking requirements to be discussed with the planning board. 5 proposed
Paving
parking
and-
spaces.
Isn't
Where do you
this,
have it? Is it the, I'm
or is
getting,
it parking
Parking,
and loading?
yeah.
Okay.
proposed improvements are expected to be constructed between April 2020 and October 2021. I don't see any note regarding paving. Well, let's see. What else? We've got a grade plan, grading and drainage. We have erosion control plan. Off-site surface water and runoff from undisturbed areas shall be diverted away from disturbed areas where possible, so the erosion's minimized.
Is there anything in the planning board
There's a lighting
regulations for
plan.
this that requires paved parking?
Probably not that would require, but would address, because you'd have calculations essentially about how much of a commercial lot you can pave.
I believe that's so the water can get back in the ground. Andy, is that one of the concerns?
Right, right. So it can do that in a fashion that doesn't essentially change the
Right.
the hydrology of a large area
Most
or
times in the gravel
cause.
pit
Yeah,
That's been converted, they don't pave.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
Yep.
And the water that lands on the roofs falls on the ground, goes right back into the ground rather than being diverted away.
Oh,
right.
okay.
Anytime you pave, you're concentrating your runoff and creating a potential erosive and force. And if you take a whole area from a parking lot, run it into a pipe, now you've got substantial discharge of
Velocity.
surface waters that pull along whatever's on that surface, be it salt or drippings from vehicles, and most of it's easily managed, but it does need to be managed. And I am surprised, Bill, that I'm not seeing comments about paving. And I'm not seeing the calculation that would go along with that. And absolutely, these things could be gravel drives.
Do we need
But
to
when-
ask them?
I mean,
for-
clearly, snow storage means you're gonna have it accessible
Wow.
all the time, and it is hard to plow gravel without,
Do we need to ask somebody that question?
well, that'd be a comment for us.
Okay.
In general, this is a very small piece of a large lot unless it's been subdivided, which isn't entirely clear to me. So if you have a large lot, a 10-acre lot, and you're paving an acre of it, well, you can probably pave your acre because on the overall lot, you're not exceeding your requirements, but
Where
that-
you're paving and where it drains into does matter.
Absolutely. You're changing the infiltration. And oftentimes, sand and gravel deposits are something that extend below the water table where they form or can be utilized as aquifers. An aquifer is just an area of ground you can pull enough water out of to be useful for whatever your interest is. So I guess I'd have one comment would be, is there any aquifer designated in this area?
For the office, does there have to be a septic?
I would suspect there's already a septic there. I don't
Where
know
would
that.
I look on a plan if I were looking for that?
I don't know.
Okay.
If they're not showing it, I couldn't tell you.
There's-
I'm not real
Usually
sure.
There's a circle, and it will designate.
Would these circles be that?
It would be labeled. I don't know what those circles are telling you.
Because to me, if you've got an office, I'm guessing,
Yeah, there'd be some restrooms there.
and I'm just saying, shouldn't I see that on a plan somewhere?
Well, they might be
If it's already
just
existing.
going into the existing.
Well, on the original,
Does it say anything in the notes there?
there was no office on the original. They were just storage buildings. So nobody's saying anything about a septic for the storage buildings. So now if you're putting in an office.
Pretty sure there was a clubhouse, and there'd be something with that. Now, the
Okay.
question, what could be, was there a subdivision so that this is now distinct from the area, or was it always distinct from the area that was called the golf course? So,
I don't know, but I'd like to know if there's a septic system on there. Is it already there, or is it
because
new?
if you just had a storage area, like the one over across from Langtots, I don't think there's any office there, and there'd be no expectation that there'd be
Correct.
a septic installed on that
But
property.
this group's got an office,
Right.
and there is no office on the original plan. So
Right.
my question is, if there was a clubhouse, something would have looked more like a clubhouse, that would have a septic system, but there's nothing here showing that. Therefore, if you've got an office now, somebody's got to have to put in a septic system. You have to have one.
Yep.
So now where are you going, and how does that work with the topography of where this is? Because I quite frankly don't know anything about this piece of property. So I have to rely on all of you, but just asking.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing. We're just sharing our questions with the planning board as the land use coordinator has requested. So that's a good question. It's down on the sheet. So far I have a number of questions. Is there any aquifer designated in this area? Is there a septic system on site? Will the site be paved? Are the calculations accurate? Is this lot separate from the old golf course? I think the golf course also had an infiltration pond on it. So I feel like this is now,
Because they're putting
or maybe
in,
always, it has been for quite a while, maybe it's been a separate lot, separate ownership, separate entity.
They're
I always
putting-
put them together, because it's the same
It
driveway.
originally was all one,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
because they're putting in a detention pond. I am not sure where that goes, because I don't read these particularly well.
It looks, if we go back to the second page there,
Is that where all the circles are? Well,
more,
is that what,
I think that's a proposed detention pond.
that's
Um,
this with the trap as opposed to anything here, okay?
Right,
Okay,
right.
I just didn't know. Do you want to look at any of this?
You know, I know that company,
Okay.
I know the
You have way more experience in this than I do.
company that did the plans, and I think they're very high-end. It's on an old gravel pit, so the drainage.
Which is the same deal over there at Langtots. It's a common thing to,
Great place to do it. You can't see it. It's a tax base, zero expense to the town, so I'm all for it.
I just want to make sure I'm not going after hurting
I
anything
think
else.
that The planning and the, building and the people in the building department take care of the septics and the setbacks and they're probably doing a better job of it now than they have in a long time.
thanks, Bill. So Lori, this plan shows the existing grade and their changes to grade.
Okay.
So if you're raising the grade, it's a fill. If you're removing material to make a bench that you can work on, it's a cut.
Okay.
And this looks like and the last thing on those, oftentimes folks like to balance it. You balance your cut with your fill, you flatten it out, and you don't have to import anything. You don't have to, well, sometimes you don't want to send anything off-site, but
What are they doing here?
it looks, looks like they're cutting up here and running it downhill to bench things off.
So sort of sloping it down?
So I believe. No, it looks like they're gonna try to extend the storage units at the same elevation of the existing ones.
Okay,
So it looks like it would be a bit of a fill
okay.
to do that.
Do they bring in for this, or do they just mush stuff around generally?
Depends on what you're starting with.
Oh.
It's all part of the business calculation of whether it makes sense
Okay.
to do it. Any other thoughts on this one?
Nope.
Cool. So, like I started with, we have no obligation and plenty of opportunity to weigh in, which is a good place to be. Maybe with a lot of lights down there, they'll keep the mosquitoes away from my place. And track them all down there.
I've never
Um,
heard it put that way before.
But I tend to agree with Bill that it looks thoroughly planned, not a off-the-cuff sort of inspiration on it. So,
I'd still like to know about the septic system, just because I'm curious.
yeah, well, we'll pass comments along. And if we were really interested on the January 23rd, we could sit in on it, or anybody could.
Ooh, if I'm not in finance.
All right, what else do we have? We have a copy of the minimum expedited wetlands permit for the retaining wall on
Horace Lake.
Horse Lake. So I signed that, and our copy eventually came back to us the way it's supposed to. We also have this is, I believe, one and the same, right? That was Chuck Street, was it?
Mhm.
We have a notice from the Wetlands Bureau that they have accepted the application for the minimum expedited.
Does that mean, Andy, they accepted it to look at it, or they've accepted it to, it's accepted?
They've accepted it as being complete, therefore they will.
But they haven't made a judgment on it, or,
Right.
okay.
This is funny.
What?
This is a letter dated November 12th. And in the letter, it says if the minimum expedited was not signed, the commission wishes to intervene, they must send a notice to DES by October 25th. So-
Okay, we're just a little bit past that
So this is a
date.
little bit of a form letter. But it's where it's intended to be. We had our look at it, and they will have theirs. That's got to go back. So, those leave one other curious. We don't receive these very often. We received curiosity. We received a note in our mailbox dated November 26th. To Conservation, please call Charlie regarding land on Chipmunk Falls Road. And we have a phone number, and we have a concerning property, lot 72 on map 401.
Anybody
And I've
got a
heard the
c-
name Charlie McKenzie, but
Anybody got a computer to pull it up and figure out what this is? Or do you want to call Charlie first and say, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Or do you want to
So-
give this to Steve and let him make the phone call?
I know this area pretty well, so I'll make the
Okay.
call. So I need to call Charlie McKenzie. And see what that's all about. And for all I know, I've spoken with Charlie before, and I should know what it's about, but I don't.
Probably if it was earth shattering, he'd have been here tonight.
Yeah.
Well, we're on the 11th. This is dated the 26th.
Usually if somebody calls, like, Mary would get the message to me that somebody called Andy, and in this case, for whatever reason, it was handled this way, so. That's apparently,
You might want to
I
work
would-
on that.
well, I think some people call the selectman's office and say this is really important,
Okay,
and then folks there try to figure out how to pass word along. And perhaps sometimes they say, oh, just, put a note in there for their next meeting.
well, since I'm wandering in here more for finance, I'll check for phone messages and forward it to
Absolutely,
you.
absolutely
If that's
reasonable
all
to do
right.
that, yep.
Okay.
So folks, that's all I've got tonight. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
We got a motion, we got a second on it.
I'll second it.
All in favor of adjourning at 7:53, say aye.
Aye. Bill, here's your
Thank you.
binder, thank you. Thank you for taking minutes.
Those were easy.
You don't ever want me to take minutes.